For those looking to quench their thirst for horsepower, there truly is something for anyone who comes to the table. For those who know the nomenclature, there's plenty to geek out over when the MRA comes to town. And at this table, bigger diggers, boggers, and super swampers are the magic words that build the most momentum. Welcome to the fertile farmlands of the Show Me State. We are at the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags on Booker Farms, getting ready for round 4 of the 2025 MRA Championship season. I'm going to bring you a double dose of today's high-octane action. We will have the Pro Stock division coming up in just a little bit. 5 combatants there battling for national championship points. But the big story today is going to be the open paddle class, the forced induction blower motor machines running for the national championship points, and it's a 3-way battle. Up top, the defending champion, multi-time champion, Kevin Harrison and Never Enough out of Mississippi, trying to hold off 2 of the toughest machines in the sport. Right behind him, the Canadian, Steve Renaud in Frantic, and right behind Steve, the Texan, Jim Ingram, out of Simonton, Texas, in the Cornwell Tools-sponsored Bad Trouble 3. Here's a look at the points coming into today's race. There you see Kevin Harrison up on top in Never Enough. Steve Renaud right under him, and Jim Ingram, who has the biggest hill to climb of the 2 machines, in second and third. He's going to have to be just about perfect today to have a shot when we get to Lyons, Indiana. There you see Billy Fling, a former champion in this class. He's kind of out of the points conversation after missing a race. He had a good shot at it earlier in the year, but that shot has dissolved. And then Tyler Coolidge, those 2 will be playing spoiler on the bottom of the top 5, but they could do a lot of damage to Harrison's points hopes. Now, first machine up in this blower class is going to be a nitrous-injected machine from right here in Missouri. That's Havoc of Chris Bonneker. Multi-generation team, the 705 cubic inch iron block, big block Chevy, built by John Conkle. And there you see Tyler Coolidge, number 5 in points right now out of Two Harbors, Minnesota. His father, Joel, also drives this machine and Kryptonite in the Outlaw Pro Stock division. You saw him spraying the de-icer on the butterflies there. Nightmare 7 lining up with that 500 cubic inch engine. Up and down with the front end, but a blistering pass. Right. Problems for Bonneker, you saw there, but a 2.20 for Coolidge to start the class. Blew the tires off a bit on the starting line there, sets the front end down, picks it back up when it got a bite, but he still runs a 2.20, so the bite is in the clay. It will remain to be seen how this lane will evolve over today's action. We haven't seen enough yet out of the first pass in the left lane to know what it's going to do, but we should get an indication here as our next pairing comes up. The defending champ and current points leader coming to the line, that being Kevin Harrison in Never Enough out of Grenada, Mississippi. Eric Bidlack Racing Chassis with a 527 screw-blown Noonan Racing Power Plant. He was the 22, 23, and 24 open paddle class champion. Like to defend those 3 championships here in 25, and one of the toughest from north of the border, Shane Nagum, out of Kindersley, Saskatchewan. 521 cubic inch screw-blown Brad Anderson Hemi, capable of nearly 4,000 horsepower. This should be a pair of heaters right here. Let's see. Well, the audio tells the tale there. Nagum lifting a blower. 2.40, still with a lifted blower. Harrison had problems on the left side, still ran a 2.2 with a 4. So they were both absolutely biting into the soil. You see the pop right there, and it looks like he may have done some damage further down in that power plant than just up on the supercharger, but he definitely damaged the supercharger. You could hear the burst panels let out. That's what that high-pitched whine was when he came down through the end of the track, when he opened up that supercharger. And Harrison drifting to the left of that lane. He backed out of the throttle wisely to avoid incurring a points penalty or a fine. He'll come back in the second session over to the right side of the track. There you see Paul Hahn out of St. Edward, Nebraska in Chasing Trouble. It's a former Harrison logging team vehicle. Ran and still does run in the Outlaw Pro Stock division with Jeremy Hood's old power plant on it. And there you see High Roller out of Germansville, Pennsylvania, Travis Shoemaker. We're going to get to these guys in just a moment. First, though, we're going to talk to Shane Nagum about that pop. So almost 30 hours down to put on a fireworks show. I know that's not what you wanted.
Yeah, it never is. I haven't had great luck here at Missouri with this car. Sold our other car, had amazing success with last year. We're figuring out if we can get her back together. We're down here. We're committed to go to Lyons, Indiana in 2 weeks. And if us boys a long ways from home logistically can make it work, there ain't no way we're laying over. So
you get a good bunch of people down here that will help you if you need to. And I know this is beyond repair for the rest of the day, but what exactly did come apart that you can see from the outside?
Yeah, burst panels went boom, maybe 80 feet out there. I knew I was on a heck of a run right with Kevin Harrison there, been the king down here, and I came for him because we run strong, and it's so great to be down here racing with just all the world-class guys and machines. And like you say, there's already been 15, 20 guys over here. What can we do? What do you need? How can I help you? And I just respect that so much, and we operate the same way. It's just a big family, and to be so far from home, we're just logistically trying to figure a repair schedule out here to see if we can make the next one.
Well, unfortunate for Nagum, but that's one spoiler off of Kevin Harrison's back door. Chasing Trouble and High Roller on the line right now for the third pass of this first session in the open paddle class. Still trying to work things out on Chasing Trouble as Hahn gets used to it. A 281, not going to get him in the program. But look at that, a 213 for Shoemaker. He'll go to the number one spot, knocking down that 220 we saw earlier. Now we'll push Kevin Harrison down into third place. And Shane Nagum will sit fourth for the moment, but that won't hold up very long. A great run for Shoemaker right there. He could come out of this thing a winner and really turn his season around. Not going to get the points this year, but if he could get up into that top five, I know he'd be happy. Here's a guy he's got to get around, though. A record-capable, actually a record-breaking machine in the sport. Billy Fling out of Sunbury, Ohio. In reality check, 581 cubic inch Hemi racing engine and the chassis built by Brasket Race Cars next to a Bullet Racing chassis. Mark Riggin, another Texan in the field. We mentioned Jim Ingram earlier. Well, he's over in the same pit area with Ingram. Pair of buddies out of the Lone Star State. That's another bad habit. Mark Riggin, known for getting wild. And he did carry the front end, but Fling went way out the end. He was flying on that. Look at that. A 205. A 205 for Fling. A 2.3 for Riggin with problems. An impressive run. But look at Fling just motor away from the timing lights. Get to 60 feet quick and out the top end. Of course, problems for Riggin on the far side. He picked up the front end, as is kind of his trademark, but he starts drifting to the middle. A lot of smoke out of that power plant. But Billy Fling goes to number one. Billy Fling at 2-0 in the first session puts you in the number one spot for now.
Yeah, I don't know how long that'll hold, but we'll keep it while we got it.
How is the air today? It is very hot out here.
It's about 4,000 feet corrected altitude, so it's not great, but you deal with it. Everybody's got to deal with the same thing.
Seemed like you had a good lane. A couple guys are having trouble with the lanes out there. You didn't seem like you had as much trouble with it.
I had a fresh groom, so just lined her up and let her go.
Back on the line now, the man sitting second in points, former champion in this class, Steve Renaud out of Hornpain, Ontario, in frantic 526 Noonan power plant in that Racing in the Dirt chassis. He was the 2017, 2018, and 2019 Open Cut class champion. Now trying to gain on Kevin Harrison on the scooper tires. And there you see Scott Snarsky lining up his driver, his co-driver, co-owner, Paul Wessinger, Paperboy Express out of Illinois. Wessinger out of Spring Grove, Illinois. The 540 cubic inch Boss Ford motor in the back of that machine. 1-speed transmission. One of the scariest sounding cars you will ever hear live. You got to get out and see this action in person. You don't know what you're missing until you see it live. Keep an eye out for that MRA calendar in 2026. Wow, Wessinger heads up drive and a good run for Renaud in the far lane, but everybody's attention was on the red rail on the right side of the track. Still runs a 258 with problems there. A 216 for Renaud. So he's going to be in good standing coming out of this first session, but a scare for some of the people on the starting line. Wessinger just showered him with dirt. Watch him again on one tire. He unloads, gets up on the wheelie bar, and still manages not to flip that thing over or take out any cones or timing equipment, but he did shower down Owen Sargent, our starting line cameraman. What a run for Paperboy Express. Overshadowed, though, was Renaud taking that fast run on the far side. Paul Wessinger, a little one-wheel action. What did it feel like on the inside?
A little scary. A little, left front wheels 3-4 foot in the air, you kind of get out of it. So, yeah, I set that on time, didn't go to bounds, so we got time at least. We'll try again next round and hopefully go straight.
Seemed like the chassis handled it okay, though.
Yeah, it usually goes straight, but I think it was a combination. I had the wheelie bar a little too high, and the track, little ruts in there. So, load the wheelie bar a little bit, and we should be golden, hopefully.
All right, we'll let you guys get back to work.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, again, overshadowed in that run was Steve Renaud, getting himself into third position. Outran Kevin Harrison's earlier wild ride in the same lane that Harrison ran in, so that's going to be a heck of a battle when we get to the second session. Here comes another Canadian in the field, Aaron Corbier out of Shiging, Ontario, in the Dirty Bomber, another Racing in the Dirt built machine with a Brad Anderson Hemi, an 1871 Darren Mayer Performance Engineering supercharger on that one. And Jim Ingram in Bad Trouble 3, one of the most unpredictable machines and one of the daringest drivers in the division. Boy, Ingram was tickling the dirt with those front wheels. A great pair of runs. Both of them had to do a little bit of evasive action down in the shutdown area, but heads up driving as always in this open panel class. And there you see Ingram runs a 2:14. I believe that'll get him into third place. Corbier going to be looking for a little more when we get back for session 2. But another look at it. Watch. Corbier hanging on to this near lane. It looks like it is not coming apart quite as badly as it did yesterday. The left lane where Ingram is may be the telltale lane before the end of the day. It looked like that lane was pulling cars left and right, but we'll see when we come back for session 2. Billy Fling, though, blistering the track on top, followed by Travis Shoemaker, Jim Ingram, Steve Renaud, and Tyler Coolidge. A very, very competitive first session, as you can see. 2 O's, 3 2-1s, and a 2-2. Stay with us. The Pro Stocks are coming up when we come back to the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags. The MRA Championship Series is brought to you by Speed Tech, Speedwire Systems, Alki Digger, and George Grading and Hauling. Welcome back to the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags in Cook Station, Missouri. You see Greg Booker and Sam Lombazio making their way to the starting line. We're going to take you through some Pro Stock class highlights from Session 1 that took place earlier this afternoon. Here you see the points coming into today's action in the Pro Stock division. Rick George leading the charge over Sam Lombazio, Todd Hackney, who is not here this weekend, Randy George, his brother, and Greg Booker. We know Randy's going to move up before the end of the day with Todd not being in the field. But there you see the American outlaw, Greg Booker, out of Steelville, Missouri, actually the owner of this property, guy who groomed this track. And there you see Sam Lombazio out of Knoxville, Illinois, in all-in for 1942 T-Bucket pickup with a big block Ford power plant, built and tuned by Oakley Motorsports. Side by side with Greg Booker and the other big block Ford. This was earlier today. Lombazio set the early pace at a 281 with a 9, 283 with a 9 for Booker, so 200th separated those two at the finish line. Now, the George brothers, Randy George, Shag Nasty currently sitting in fourth. He would line up next to his brother and points leader Rick George in Saturday Night Special. Two names these guys have brought back from yesteryear. In fact, these guys used to own one of the premier mud parks in the country down in Franklin, Georgia. But we're going to take you back a little ways. We're going to take you all the way back to 1989. A little retro action here. 1989 Coweta Raceway in Noonan, Georgia, just south of Atlanta, where the George brothers showed up on TV for the first time.
Everybody's going to be gunning for that and breathing fire. Whoa! Speaking of fire, Mudaholic has got a little bit right now, and that's driven by Randy George out of Franklin, Georgia. And he's ready to go.
And all that was there, Stan, was just a little bit of raw fuel in his exhaust when he fired up. He's firing up off that starting line real good. Coming across that pit, oh, that was a good run.
Sure is. Time at 3.75. And this is his brother Rick George and Shag Nasty.
And what we saw there's shooting up from the hood there, which looked like steam. What that was nitrous. Now they got to clean them lines out, make sure there's no air in there so that nitrous system works good for him. And it looked like he had a lot of horsepower there, and it was working good.
Way back then, 370s were good times in the Pro Stock division back then, but that was in 3 feet of mud. Now on the loam here in Missouri, the George brothers. Some 36 years later, and they're still fast as ever. A 270 for Rick George would go to the number 1 spot, and a 280 for Randy George. 1/10 of a second separating those guys at the finish line. On the clocks, remember they're racing the clocks, not each other, but the George brothers taking the momentum into the second session. Rick George would scratch this session, sit back, and hope that his time would hold up. But now as we look at the final vehicle from the first session, that's Trevor Latham out of Parkview, Iowa in hammer time. 2015 Chevy Colorado lays down a 3-second pass. Not going to get him to the top. He would sit number 5. Here's a look at the time sheet going into the second session. There you see Rick George up on top at a 270. Randy George with a 280. Sam Lombazio with a 281 with a 9. Pair of Fords there with Greg Booker at a 283 with a 9. And Trevor Latham in the big blue Chevrolet at a 305 with a 4. Latham comes back to the line now. 632 cubic inch big block Chevrolet, single carb, no nitrous. Dana 44 front, Ford 9-inch rear with 4-link suspension and a Power Glide transmission. Hammer time, Trevor Latham, multi-generation team there. The younger of the two Lathams lines up against Randy George and Shag Nasty with a 707 cubic inch John Conkle power plant. A pair of Chevy Colorados getting ready to light the tree now. See if these guys can better Rick George's run from session number 1, the 270. Nice smooth pair of runs. Neither one of them is going to be fast enough, but Randy George closed in on him at a 278. Latham still running in the 3s right now. Trying to speed up. It is a competitive machine. Looking for a little bit more out of it, though, to really hang in there with the upper crust of this field. But do not count him out. We have seen Latham lay down some blistering passes over the years. Got a hold of the lane, though. A nice straight run cleanly out the top end of the track now as the Fords come back to the line. There you see. Pair of big block Ford power plants. American Outlaw Greg Booker in the Bidlack built chassis next to Sam Lambazio. And what's left of Greg Booker's old American Outlaw, very heavily modified from when they purchased this vehicle, but Lambazio, one of the toughest in the class. The man in black right now taking on the property owner. Greg Booker, the groundskeeper here. Again, both of these guys, record-capable vehicles in this class, record-capable drivers, and very daring drivers in this class. They could take down Rick George. Saturday Night Special still sitting on top with that 2.70. Puff of smoke out of the intake there for Booker. A problem off the line at 2.91 and a 2.80. Not going to get him to the top spot. So the George brothers are going to finish this Class 1 and 2. The Pro Stock division goes to Dixie as the George brothers out of Georgia take the number 1 and 2 spots. Again, you see that puff of smoke off the starting line. Problems again for Greg Booker, and Sam Lambazio will end up in third. Racing in the dirt, keeping you active. You guys always have a nice little camp coming down this way.
Well, as much stuff we got running, it takes a team to keep it running. So they're a great part of what we do.
You guys seem to do real well in the Pro Stocks tonight, too.
Yeah, we did good in the Pro Stocks, too. I got first, and Randy come out with a second, and done pretty well.
Well, we will let you guys get packed up because I know you got to get ready for Lions.
All right, I appreciate you.
Then a few words, Rick and Randy George, and here's how the points come out of this penultimate round of the Pro Stock class. These guys will head to Lyons, Indiana for the finals at Wagler Motorsports Park. We'll be bringing you that action in a few weeks. Rick George and Randy George sitting first and third. Sam Lambazio remains in the number 2 spot, so it's going to be a battle between the George brothers and Sam Lambazio for the championship. We'll be back with more action from the Open class.
The world-famous C60 Cyclops. The infamous Dodge Carryall, unnamed and untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy of a Mudbogger turned monster truck at freedomracingmt.com.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. Heard the Silver Lake Sand Dragway? There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Quick till of the loam here at the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags in Cook Station, Missouri on Booker Farm. Some very, very rich soil here. A lot of clay in these lanes should provide potential record-breaking soil. There you see the timesheets coming into the second session of the Open Paddle class. Billy Fling leading with that 2:05. Travis Shoemaker and Jim Ingram are going to be coming after him. Steve Renaud and Tyler Coolidge rounding out the top 5. Right now in the Open Paddle class, Kevin Harrison has got to start making a move here, though, as he needs to stay in the points if he has any hope of hanging on to the championship and defending it for a 4th straight year. Right now, Jim Ingram out of Simonton, Texas, in the 500 cubic inch screw-blown Bad Trouble 3, sponsored by Cornwell Tools. Lines up next to the Canadian out of Chigang, Ontario. This is Aaron Corbiere. The Brad Anderson Hemi with the 1871 blower up on top with the Turbo 400 transmission. There you see the chassis builder, Shane Olrogi, getting his driver all set up. Shane piloted his car for a couple weeks. See what Aaron has for Jim Ingram. See if either of these guys can bump off Fling. Way outside to the right was Ingram. A wild ride for Bad Trouble 3. Corbiere running a 238 with a 1. Ingram a 225 in spite of some nearly catastrophic problems on this side. Ingram in the past has gotten into this near side wall over here. Fortunately, he didn't do that this time. Look at him set the front end down and just narrowly avoids going out of bounds. You see a piece of concrete coming off right there. I don't think he made contact with the outside wall, but that was a little chunk of concrete that came up, so I'm wondering if it's just an old piece of concrete that was laying there buried in the grass and he just found it with those big scoopers. But heads up driving again as the big cloud of dust indicates from the starting line that he nearly went out of bounds. Now Steve Renaud in frantic rolling to the line out of Hornpain, Ontario, next to Paul Wessinger, who took that wild one-wheel ride in Session 1 in Paperboy Express. Ford Boss motor versus the Noonan racing engine. On the line right now, again, Renaud was the 2017 through 2019 Open Cuts champion. Had a pair of vehicles in that time. He used to run a front engine Frantic, now with the rear engine machine, or the mid-engine machine. Lined up next to, as I said, one of the scariest sounding cars on the starting line. That Paperboy Express is ultra loud when he's pulling it in to the beams. Just the amount of power, the immense amount of power trying to creep to the starting line is just, it's a sensation and a sound like no other. You can hear that these machines are ready to cut loose. Let's see if Wessinger can clean up the run and maybe put Paperboy Express in the winner's circle for the second day in a row. See Renaud stage to the extreme left of that near side lane, and it netted him a good run. A 2-1-2 for Renaud, a 2-2-0 for Wessinger, so both of them laying down good passes, but I do believe they're going to be looking for just a little bit more out of these vehicles before the end of the year. However, both of them very clean runs. Renaud nice and straight, keeping all four tires down and digging all the way through, puts him in second place. The 2-1-2 right behind Billy Fling's 2:05 with a 5. And speaking of Fling, he comes back to the line. He's still sitting number 1, but he would like to cement himself into that spot with an even better run here in Session 2 with the Brasket Race Cars built chassis out of Sunbury, Ohio. Going to take a single on this second pass. Great run. He came across the lane, though. You see him exit to the right as he had to avoid the time equipment down there, but still 2-0 on that one, a 2:09. Not as quick as his first session time, but he has yet to be beaten, and it looks like he may have drawn a good number here today as he laid down a good run on this near side. Have to wonder, had he had the lanes in reverse order, would he be sitting where he's sitting? But it's luck of the draw in this form of motorsports. Up next, Paul Hahn out of St. Edward, Nebraska, coming into stage with a 572 cubic inch big block Chevy with a 1471 high helix blower up on top. Again, that's Jeremy Hood's old turbocharged power plant, now with the supercharger. And there you see a guy who has been very successful over the years in the modified division. He was the 2017-2018 modified cuts and the 2018 modified paddles champion in this machine. Now with the 521 cubic inch screw-blown Hemi behind him. Here's one of the biggest fans in the facility there, the pup, watching the action from the lawn chair. See what Shoemaker can do here. Can he get past Fling? could do it. Billy Fling said a couple years ago to Shoemaker, get out of my class. Oh, wild ride on the right-hand lane again. Shoemaker almost goes out of bounds. And a 2.20 on, again, a bad run, but still lays down a 2.20. So these guys are that quick. A 2.7 for Paul Hahn on the far side. Still trying to work the bugs out of that pickup, but he'll get there. But look at Shoemaker fighting for control, able to keep it together in the shutdown. That's where this can really go wrong. If you get sideways there and tuck the outside rear rubber, it will throw you over and throw you over in a hurry. So again, a great job of driving for Travis Shoemaker. Now the guy who needs to make a move here to stay on top, Kevin Harrison out of Grenada, Mississippi, in the Noonan-powered Never Enough. Defending 3 back-to-back championships right now. Can he keep himself in the number 1 spot? Oh, getting wild here. Hang on to it, Kevin. He does so. But he will be disqualified on that run. He's going to go out of here with a massive deficit hanging over his head because he did just wipe out the reflectors. I do see some timing equipment down. Luckily, it wasn't the clocks themselves, but he took some sticks down when he went through there. Some of the beam reflectors and some cones went with him, so he will be penalized, I believe, 25 points, and that's in addition to what he's going to lose ground on just and not make it. But look at him fighting for control. What a driving job to stay out of the wall, stay upright in that vehicle. Kevin Harrison, one of the best in the business, still proving it right there in spite of the problems he had. He's going to be glad to leave this race behind him. See Brendan Bidlack walking over to have a word with him. Son of the chassis builder.
I was trying to live quick enough.
Harrison just now finding out the damage he did to the timing lights, and that's going to weigh on his mind all the way to Indiana. He's going to have to be perfect right there. Well, as the track cleanup goes on, Harrison and Shane Nagum should have been the 2 fastest here today. They both had problems. We talked to Shane Nagum a bit more between the sessions, and we're going to show you that right now while they clean up the mess on the track.
Everybody.
Well, it looks like you're trying to keep that north versus south battle going, or increase it for next year, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we just want to reciprocate coming down here, showing the two-way street, because we put arguably probably the biggest show on there is. I'll say that officially when we get about 10 of the big cars up there, you know, but we get, 12 to 15, big blower cars, and there's a lot of guys that run right here with all these guys up there too, and we're just trying to create that north versus south two-way street, because there's not a lot of great facilities popping up in our sport anymore, and we got a beautiful place up in Kindersley, Saskatchewan in our hometown, and put a real world-class show on. And if we come down, expect some to come up. Some guys come up every year. We just want to do our part too.
Oh, we appreciate it down here. It's good to see you. I'm sorry we didn't get to see you run but for about 80 feet, but it still went out the top end pretty. The number wasn't bad considering how early it popped.
It just goes to show what I was on one there, and I'm proud of that, certainly, but we'll get to the bottom of this. I think we're going to pack up and go to a buddy's shop near St. Louis and get at her.
All right, well, we'll let you guys get ready to get packed up because I know you got some work to do.
Thanks for all the coverage. You guys do a great job. Appreciate it.
Well, good to hear that they're going to be trying to make it to Lions. I can tell you that. The likelihood is good, too, because those guys will not quit, not traveling that far. And I hear they're going to be bringing a legend, Mark Lee, along with them next time we see them. There's some talk that we may see some new vehicles showing up in this class over the next year. Right now, though, our final pairing, the track room is done. The clocks are back and functioning as we get ready for a final pair. Havoc, the nitrous-injected big block Chevrolet, against the Alan Johnson Performance Blower Motor Machine Nightmare 7. Can they knock off Fling? Great run for Tyler Coolidge, but a 2-1-4 is not going to do it. Chris Bonacker bringing his machine around nicely, and he's getting some tuning information for a race that he's going to have to do here soon off the MRA series. But great job there for Tyler Coolidge. Not enough to knock off Billy Fling. He hangs on from that first pass that he made earlier in session 1 over here on the near side of the track, but Coolidge finding a nice groove over there. And the big story coming out of this weekend is going to be Steve Renaud hanging on to, I believe, a second place finish here, but Billy Fling is standing by in victory lane. Billy Fling, first pass held up, ran a groomed track that first time, but everybody else was having to drive out a disaster. It seemed like running well in that first session worked for you.
It did. Hitting it early got us the win because we ran slower the second pass too.
Even with the better air, it seemed like everybody was struggling, but it also seems like the track really started going away. You better be lucky than good, but you were both tonight.
Yes, I was. I'll take it any day.
Well, he said the first pass got him the win, and then he ran slower. Make no mistake, that second pass still would have gotten him a win. But there you see Billy Fling leading the charge out of this weekend at a 2.055. Steve Renaud, a 2.12, 2.13, all 2.1s at the bottom. Shoemaker, Ingram, and Coolidge rounding out the top 5 in the field today. Steve Renaud has now jumped into the number 1 spot for the moment. Kevin Harrison's going to try to fight him back, only 10 points separating those guys. Jim Ingram's got an outside shot if he shows up. Billy Fling and Travis Shoemaker, are still going to be playing spoiler before the end of the year, and both of them would love to move up in the points before they go out of this 2025 Open Class Paddle Tire season. It's been a wild afternoon of action. It was such a clean first session in spite of some mechanical problems that we saw. A little fireworks show there in session 1 from Shane Nagum, but some wild runs off the right lane in session 2. Thanks for joining us. We have one more edition to go, the Modifieds on the Cut Tires, next time from right here at the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drag.